Y'all, Jones Dairy Farm, located in Fort Atkinson, is a standout. They do premium meat manufacturing, making dry-aged bacon, naturally smoked hams and Canadian bacon, all-natural sausage, and a new no antibiotics ever chicken and pork meatballs. It's a 7th-generation family-owned and operated farm who's been making breakfast better since 1889. Learn more at jonesdairyfarm.com. That's jonesdairyfarm.com. Madison Public Library connects us to the world, to information, and to each other. September is Library Card Sign-Up Month, so it's the perfect time to get your very own Madison Public Library card. Already have a card? You can renew it this month and visit the library website for a list of 30 things you can do with your Madison Library card, one for every day of September. Visit madpl.org or stop into any Madison Public Library to get started.
Today on CityCast Madison. It's Tuesday, so it's time for another installment of our Must-See Madison conversations. Today, we're doing a special celebratory look at Madison's Badger tailgates. If you don't know, now you know. Badger football season is officially here, and we've got a big game this weekend. So where can you tailgate, and what can you expect from our tailgating city? As a former Badger season ticket holder here, I'm taking the wheel and talking with our host, Bianca Martin, and special guest, DJ Nick Nice, who's a long-running DJ for UW Tailgates on Regent Street. It's Tuesday, September 10th. I'm Haley Sperling, and here's what Madison's talking about. Alrighty, welcome to another installment of Must See Madison, where we give you the inside scoop on all the must-dos, sees, and in-betweens of our fair city. And this week, we are zooming in on game days, because this weekend is one of the most hotly anticipated football games in recent UW history. Our Big Ten Badgers are taking on the highly ranked Alabama Crimson Tide. And we'll get into why this is exciting. But beyond the game, Madison has long been dubbed one of the best college sports towns in America. Between the lakes, State Street, Camp Randall, the energy on game day is truly indescribable. If you're into that. Because I can respect the fact that not everyone is. And we've got some tips on how to manage these chaotic game days too. And here with me today is our lovely host, Miss Bianca Martin. Hey girl, hey.
Hey, I'm into the indescribable energy. I am. What can I say?
I love it. And our super special guest, DJ Nick Nice. Welcome to the pod.
How's it going, everybody?
Good. It's so fun having you, Nick, because we're old friends.
Yes, we are. I know. I was talking to Maceo last night, my son, and telling him how I was going to be on your podcast. And he's like, oh, I remember her. So, yeah, he remembers meeting you. Well, and you're always on stage a lot at events that we're at, too. So I'm always like, that's Bianca. You know, I think he knows your voice real well.
Well, it's like a shared thing because I'm like, that's Nick. There's Nick Nice. It makes sense that you would be involved in game days because you're kind of at all of the hottest parties in Madison. DJ.
Thank you.
So, yes.
I love it. And Mr. Nice, if we can call you that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Would you take a moment, because clearly you and Bianca are old friends and you are a man about town, but
True.
Can you tell folks just real quickly, like who you are and your relationship to game days? We've heard you got something exciting cooking up over at Fabiola's this year too.
Yeah. So I have been doing the game day tailgates for, I want to say almost 10 years now. So it was previously Rocky Rococo's, and then the Greenbush Donuts was next door. So when I started, it was pizza and donuts. We had the Cops next door. Cops get free donuts, so that was a whole thing. I had a lot of my friends on Snapchat knew that I would send them many photos of various cops eating different types of donuts and talking about said donuts. So it was like good vibes. So then, as most of you know, Sam Brown, the owner of Rocky's and now Fabiola's and Leopold's, he owns the building, then he opened Leopold's, and then Fabiola's opened up. And obviously we're not going to stop doing the tailgate. So it's been a matter of kind of just reinventing things a little bit. But yeah, so been down in the heart of the madness, if you will, for quite some time now. And I thankfully, like, our tailgate's a little bit more, how can I put it? Not as crazy as some of the other ones. We don't, there's no off-duty cops working security. Like, it's real festive. It's got a more of a, I guess you could say, family vibe, Wisconsin family vibe. I think somebody from another state might come here and be slightly horrified, but
that's true for a lot of Wisconsin traditions. I'm not going to lie, because I'm from Minneapolis originally. And when I first came here as a student, I was so excited for game days. But then I was like, these kids are drinking with their parents. Like, is that allowed? And it's very normal here.
It's very normal. One of my favorite things that seems to happen every week at our tailgates is there's relatively young children. We're talking like kids that have maybe just learned how to walk. So they're, they're a little very wobbly, much like drunk people. And so what often ends up happening is they end up having these hilarious dance battles, usually because I play at halftime. So it's great. It's like, again, in another state, Child Protective Services might be called, but here it's just good old innocent Wisconsin fun, no big deal.
I love that. Whether you're a drunk adult or a toddler just learning to walk, there is fun to be had on a game day. And that's what this conversation is all about.
And dancing.
Yep. I want to dive into some of the different neighborhoods when it comes to tailgating, because longtime football coach and athletic director Barry Alvarez once said of game day, quote, "It's not just a football game, it's a happening. It's not just a stadium, it's the neighborhoods, it's the parking lot, it's the whole community. They're into the game." And I think that sentiment just rings so true for the entire community. And I think for me, like, the different neighborhoods in Madison kind of tailgate in a different way. And so you spend a lot of your time on Regent Street, Nick. Like, how would you characterize that part of town? Because I have thoughts and I'll share them, but I want to get your take first.
Well, I actually grew up in the Vilas neighborhood. And so as a kid, I would sell parking spaces. We were a little bit far from the stadium, so I couldn't sell like premium spots, but we still, would sell out wherever I'd park everybody in our driveway. So I'm well familiar with that neighborhood and the tailgating traditions. When I was a kid, I'd go to all the games with my mom or dad, and we used to go to a tailgate that was where the Pizza Pit is over there in that little like corner lot. There was a tailgate run by Stoddard's Meats, and my middle school principal was Mr. Stoddard, and so he would always be like manning the grills, and the tailgate just had a really like fun, friendly neighborhood vibe. A little rowdy, but nothing crazy. So the tailgate that I do at Fabiola's, I feel like it's very similar to that vibe. There's just a whole sense of camaraderie. People come through that have either grown up there, they're back in town for a game. So the whole Regent Street neighborhood, to me, it's something where people come down, and a lot of times, people bounce from tailgate to tailgate. Yeah. And, that seems to be a pretty common tradition, especially if it's a nice day.
Can't get enough.
Can't get enough. Exactly. But yeah, no, there's definitely a different vibe. When I come down West Wash. So that's, more students and people. That's a little bit of a different game day vibe than down where I DJ, closer to the stadium, because we've got Lucky's next to us, Big Ten pubs across the street. Red Zone's a block down. Those are probably, I'd say we're probably like the main big tailgates on Regent Street, But then there's lots of private ones as well, in different lots and whatnot. And as you may or may not know, there's very specific rules for the tailgates that frustrate everyone. So like, say, for example, when it's an 11 a.m. kickoff, which the Alabama game is going to be, you can't have any amplified music until 10 a.m. And so what ends up happening for these 11 a.m. games, and nobody really knows this, because all of the college students and everybody else, they got their music on since 6 a.m. So it's not like it's a quiet neighborhood. But for whatever reason, there's this rule in place. And so what always ends up happening, our capacity is about 1,200 people in the parking lot. So, you'll have all these people standing around staring at you like, why aren't you playing any music? I'm like, because I can't, and because I have to get there early to be set up. So I'm just there doing nothing for an hour, basically. So we toyed with the idea of having like a bagpipe, people playing bagpipes, or a mariachi band or something. Because that's a way to skirt the rules. But is it really worth it to have a band play for an hour? I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the vibe in that neighborhood is very, it's wonderful. And I would say, with all the different new businesses that have popped up there in the last few years, it's actually way different than it was when I first started. Because when I first started, it was just pretty much just, people getting drunk and rolling through and it just kind of chaotic. And I've noticed over the last couple of years, it's really shifted and it's just a little bit more, I don't want to say subdued because it is definitely not subdued, but it's slightly more civilized,
Or like wholesome, I feel like. Is that
yes. If blackout drunk people
including
can
drunk.
Yeah, exactly.
Drunk wholesome.
Drunk wholesome, yeah. We've actually never had, knock on wood, we've only had one fight at our tailgate and it was just two brothers. So, it's some
classic
family stuff. Yeah.
So they're fighting no matter what.
Yeah, they're fighting no matter what. Doesn't matter. So alcohol in the mix, it's going to get a little crazy. And then obviously, the university has their big tailgate event that over at Union South, which is a whole different Badger Bash, way different vibe than what we do, And then Barry Alvarez has like a tailgate that he does too. There's a whole slew of, there's a whole, I don't know if he does it every game, but there's official, like alumni tailgates and whatnot that aren't just the Badger Bash.
I think for me, you kind of hit the nail on the head with Regent Street. It's definitely more of a community party vibe to me. People bounce around from different places. They'll go to one spot for another. Of course, there's always happenings on State Street, right? I feel like that's a big spot for drinking age students, but also out of towners who just kind of happen to be around for the game. Maybe the game is not their top priority, but they're excited to be there. Maybe they just had brunch at Lucille, or they walk the farmers market and they want to be around. It's people are out there drinking, but it's not as wild and crazy.
Totally.
And then there's Langdon Street, which is where, and this is just in my experience, students in fraternities and sororities go and drink with their parents, which was always kind of a weird thing to me. Again, like I said, but
some of them might be a part of that same fraternity and sorority.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a lot of familial legacy vibes. And then there's the Camp Randall neighborhoods. So I'm talking Lathrop Street, Breeze Terrace, Van Hise Ave. Those are the places where students who live in those houses throw big parties. And it's not really a place where you would just kind of show up if you don't know anyone, but the odds of a stranger just offering you a beer on the street are still very high.
All the time. When I'll take a walk around the neighborhood sometimes because we put the game on so that I have a break from DJing, and I'll just like to take a little walk around the block just to kind of soak up the vibe. And yeah, oftentimes it's exactly what happens. You're walking down the street and hey, come on over, have a beer, blah, blah, blah. Everybody's real friendly.
Y'all, Comic-Con is back in Madison. Meet your favorite celebs and see all the cool artists and vendors at Madison Comic Expo on September 14th and 15th at the Alliant Energy Center. Meet the voice of SpongeBob, Tom Kenny, as well as Rachel Lee Cook, Will Friedle, Grace Van Dien, some Power Rangers, and over a dozen voice actors from your favorite cartoons and anime. Don't miss the costume contest on Saturday and Sunday. Buy your tickets now at MadisonComicExpo.com.
Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/save. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
Before we dive too deep into the games, I wanted to get a quick vibe check from the two of y'all. How many games have you been to in the past? And this is a judgment-free zone. I think I've mentioned on the podcast before, I used to be a season ticket holder as a student. So I've been to a bunch of these games. I've done a bunch of the pre-games and tailgating and whatnot. But Bianca, what about you? What's your experience been like on game day?
Well, I've only gone to one Badger game, and that's kind of embarrassing and understandable because when I was in kindergarten, when we moved to Wisconsin, I immediately was a student who won a signed picture of Brett Favre, a plaque, and I told the principal, as a kindergartner, I don't want this. And she's like, everyone wants this. I'm like, I don't. But then my cousin, Cecil Martin, played for the Badgers before he went on to play for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay, Flex, go
All
on.
right, he's a
Go
legend.
Cease, go Cease. So I always have had like a place in my heart for the Badgers. And obviously I am a Badger. I went to UW-Madison and I love it. I think I also maybe it was like an expense thing that I didn't buy the season tickets. It was hard to get, whatever.
They're
So
expensive. Yeah. And
Yeah,
it's hard.
yeah. Yeah, but I do have a story about the game that I went to, which was I was asked out on a date, my first ever official date ask from a guy who worked at Rita's, Chad Bourne's
Love it.
Rita's Market,
Wow.
kind of a food cafeteria for students. And he was super cute and I was so excited. And then part of it was going to a tailgate for UW Badgers. And it was in the Camp Randall neighborhood that you described. It was like one of these house parties. And to say the drinking was excessive is to put it slightly. And then all of these crowds, you like move with the crowd. You're basically become a part of a huge wave of red and white and, you know, people wearing their striped, what are those, overalls?
Oh, the overalls.
and,
Oh, yeah, that's a look.
Red afro wigs. And, you know, it's a whole thing. I did have a good time. It was just a huge learning experience. But yeah, that's me.
That sounds accurate. I feel like those neighborhoods, you'll always see like the 3-story beer bongs and stuff too.
Yes.
That's like the whole thing. Yeah, and beer pong, obviously. Yeah.
A lot of like flabongo situations happening, which if you don't know, it's literally just a plastic pink flamingo somehow cut and MacGyvered into a beer bong because
Completely missed that.
Yes, Madison's bird is the bird. It's the plastic pink flamingo, and you'll see people like taking beer bongs out of the flamingo and like going up and like it's a weird time.
Can't
It's
say
a weird
UW students
time.
are not creative.
Yeah. I can bet it was like an engineering student who probably made the first one, right? I don't know. That's my lore. That's my presumed
Sounds about
lore.
right.
Do you ever get to the game, Nick? Because I guess you know, as you said, you've had places to be this past decade.
Yeah, so I have, I used to go, it's like, grew up going to the games all the time because my parents had season tickets. My dad was a professor in the economics department here. And
I didn't know that.
Another flex.
yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
Another flex. Yeah, he's retired, still going strong at 96.
Wow. Congrats.
Thank you. But yeah, I went to a ton of games. And unfortunately, when I was a student here, it was the Don Morton era, which for younger listeners out there, he was one of the worst coaches. And it was like the darkest period in Badger football history. Like it was like they sucked so bad. Nobody was at the games. It was just
Oh no.
jump around type stuff. So there just wasn't a lot. I guess jump around started, I want to say, was it like sometime in the 90s? I can't remember when. But that was like not a fun. I mean, we had fun at the games because you always have fun. But as far as football goes, it was very not entertaining football, so to speak. So yeah, I went to a lot of games. But then now that I've started doing the tailgates, I haven't been to a game in years because I'm not able to.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and that Jump Around House of Pain song is 1992. So sometime
92,
after that,
yeah. Yeah, I can't remember what it like. There's a whole ESPN documentary about the history and how it started and whatnot that was really fascinating to watch. They put it out, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah. I think we can actually link to that. I think I've seen it online. So
Yeah, it's on there somewhere.
There's also like a UW sponsored documentary about becoming Bucky. I don't know if you guys have seen that one.
Yes. Yeah.
That's pretty wild too. The trials and tribulations that these folks go through to put on that Bucky suit. It's wild.
Yeah, shouting out Taylor Schuster from Baraboo High School, who became Bucky. He was a year younger than me, and I think he might be in the documentary. But I just remember he was just like a quiet kid. I just never expected. And then to see him like, yeah, doing the flips around. Anything is possible at UW.
The Buckies are wild. I DJ every year for UW Welcome Week for the freshmen, and I do a Thursday night event at the Memorial Terrace, and then a Sunday evening event. It's a silent disco that I do at Union South, and Bucky usually comes to both of them. But this year, for whatever reason, he wasn't at the Memorial Union one, but he came to Union South, and the Buckies can't talk,
Yeah.
So like you can talk to them and you can try to figure out what their erratic hand gestures are. But he came up on stage and he clearly is sick of jump around because I figure, oh, Bucky's here, I'm gonna throw on jump around. But you could tell he's over it. And so he comes up, and I could tell he was he wanted to see like what my what was in my Serato crates, my DJ crates. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to play next. I'm like, how about Turn Down for What? And then, he gives me the Bucky, like, erratic thumbs up, But he also was like scratching, stopping the music because it was silent disco, so you couldn't hear what he was doing. So he was hitting all the buttons that would start the song over. It was really, kind of annoying. Was it?
He got buck wild on you.
I did get buck wild. Nice one. And definitely a wannabe Bucky DJ,
I love it. Well, sometimes maybe Bucky's not into the game, not into the sport. And, that goes to say, too, like,
totally.
There is a big population of folks who don't watch football and who aren't into the sports. And for me, my biggest tip is to tell people that during Badger games, during Packer games, during any of these big drinking events where people are out and about, like, that's a great time to go grocery shopping, right? Because everyone else is gone. It's also a great time to like hit up local trails, right? One Reddit user told me, because I put out a call on Madison Reddit to be like, how do you tailgate? What do you do? And one person told me that they like to go running down the Southwest commuter path in the morning just before it gets too busy and like watch everyone get set up and just embrace all the fantastic vibes, kind of that calm before the storm situation. So
I love that.
Yeah, that's a good way to deal with it.
Yeah, it's one way. I mean, Bianca, like if you haven't gone to that many games, is there anything that you love to do on game day, like while other people are out and about?
I mean, I just, I'm losing my UW cred, but I'm just not paying attention the way I should. That might change if I was incentivized in some way. But I love watching it. Like if it's on, I'll go to a bar. I will be a part of the fun. Like now I'm going to go check out McNice's party over on Regent Street in front of Fabiola's.
Always fun. We can actually get a lot of people that aren't super sports people at our tailgates because I play music videos during it, so that seems to go over really well because it's there's nothing better than having some beers with some friends and watching videos and everybody's dancing. And obviously we have the game on when the game is going, but before the game we're like, we're just gonna make it more of a party vibe, So we get a fair amount of people that are more of the casual fan, if you will,
Yeah, and I might be in that moment of my life, like would just like turn it down mid. I would love a brat and beer and I love fall, so the cozy vibes of getting your sweatshirt on and being in community. Like it might be something I get more into. But what about you, Haley? I mean, at this point.
Well, it's so fun. And for me, there are just so many traditions that I love about game day, and you don't have to really get into the football, because for me, again, I went to a bunch of football games. I didn't know what was going on. I knew like Russell Wilson was there, and now we get Sierra, and I love that. Yeah. But like there are so many awesome traditions that just make it so much fun. We mentioned Jump Around. Of course, there's Bucky's Fifth Quarter, Singing on Wisconsin, Build Me Up Buttercup, the great student section race, which we mentioned in a past episode. So there's just like so many ways for people to get involved. And like you said, Bianca, like it really is just a showing of community
and school friggin' spirit.
Yes.
And I love the family component. I'm like Miss Disney over here. But I do like that, I think I was downtown, maybe at Maduro, and 3 dads were alumni. Like they've been friends for 3 decades and they're still coming back to the game, and they moved to Minnesota and Michigan. And, but this is still something that they can gather around. And I'm here for that. Like
it's a bonding moment.
And people fly back for. I have some friends that live out in San Francisco, and they always fly back for one game a year. It's like their thing that they do. They were hoping to come to the Alabama game, but unfortunately, the tickets and hotel prices for this upcoming weekend are astronomically high.
Yeah.
Oh, really? That makes sense.
It's crazy. Yeah, we don't really know what to expect, but the Bama fans are coming, so we'll see.
The Bama.
I don't know. I'm slightly nervous. Like I can pretty much stereotype every Big Ten fan base just because I've done the games long enough. Now you learn to know like which fan bases are a little more friendlier than others, which ones tend to be a little bit more aggressive.
Can you give us some top lines?
Yeah, I can 100%. Yeah, Ohio State fans are definitely like hands down the worst fans in the Big Ten. I think everybody would agree with on that. Like the only time we've ever had any kind of tension at our tailgate is when Ohio State comes here. But on the flip side, Iowa fans, fantastic. Always have a good time. Nebraska, same thing. Illinois, Northwestern, Purdue, Indiana, they don't really have like the best traveling fan bases, so to speak. Minnesota is always a good time too.
The Gophers.
The
Are they
Gophers, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
the
they're Gophers. Go Gophers.
It's, what's fun is when we have these early season games and you're playing these schools that you've never heard of, because they're just coming in to get payday. But there's always a few fans that come and they always end up gravitating to our tailgate for some reason. And you end up meeting people and having great conversations with them. And you're kind of an ambassador to of Madison. So you're trying to show them a good time. So that's the thing that I like about the tailgates is the camaraderie of it and how the good side of sports is that it can bring us together despite our differences,
Yeah. And I think we're a standout. Like UW really does go all out in our spirit. And it is something to witness. If you're new, I'm excited for you to see this. And if you're new and you don't want to see this, as Haley said, go grocery shopping. Make the most.
It's a great day. Yeah. If you're not into football, it's definitely a great day to get other things done. I've certainly become an expert on college football just from watching all the games. And then part of it too, you got to kind of make small talk during the game. You're hanging out with people and they might not be aware of where they are. So, you and so the one common thing that they can certainly chat football in that state of mind, which is kind of hilarious. So that's sort of a way to bridge the gap between everyone. All right, you might be a little bit too hammered right now for any other thing, but we can talk football and we'll get along. It'll be great.
I love it. It's community, it's sports, it's drinking. It's a good time. This has been such a beautiful conversation, y'all. And I'm ready to go to a football game. I don't know about you guys.
I'm ready to tailgate at least.
It's fun. You don't even need to go to the game. There's people that actually just go to the tailgates. They just bounce around because, you can watch the game and it's cheaper. And
so true.
You got bathrooms right there. You got food. You got everything you need. So yeah, I always tell people the best way to experience a game day is just come in the neighborhood and bounce around and really soak up the vibe of the Regent Street neighborhood.
Jump around.
Jump around Regent. Amazing. Well, Nick Nice, thank you so much for joining us on this amazing tailgate conversation.
Thanks for having me. It's been wonderful chatting with you both.
That was Madison DJ Nick Nice and CityCast Madison host Bianca Martin. If you want to check out more details for Fabiola's football tailgate that Nick Nice DJs or follow Nick's DJing across Madison, head to our show notes for a link. That's all for today here on CityCast Madison. If you enjoyed today's show, why not share this podcast with a badger? See you back here tomorrow morning with more news from across the city. Bye-bye.